Hello, everyone. My name is Amber, and this is a Lovely Yarn podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. It feels like it's been a really long time. I have missed being here. I have missed posting episodes. I think my last episode was posted in mid-January. I was sick. I am not completely myself yet, but I'm feeling so much better. I had a cold. I got it New Year's Eve. And then what typically happens when I get any kind of respiratory virus, a cold, the flu, anything like that, it settles into my very rebellious sinus cavities. And it turns into a really nasty, hard to eradicate sinus infection. So 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks of antibiotics, 2 different kind, and just almost 7 weeks of hardly having any energy. I am back. Saturday was a low day for me, and as I was sitting in front of my light therapy box, because it's been very cold and gray here in Pennsylvania, I was just at my wit's end. I felt physically not well, and mentally I wasn't feeling well. And then Sunday, thank the Lord, I woke up and the pressure in my face was significantly reduced. I have no idea what happened. Maybe like all the prayers. I don't know. I've just been like praying for some relief. And since Sunday, I have noticed myself getting better. I have pain and pressure. I'm still tired, but I'm getting my energy back and my face is feeling a lot better than what it had been. So I am back. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about what I'm working on, what I've finished. I have 4 finished projects. 2 are knitting, 2 are crochet. And then I have a couple of whips, and I have some new yarn that I bought for a sweater. Already picked out the pattern, already have the yarn. I just need to cake it up. So I'm going to share that as well. And just a few other things too. I feel like this is going to be, I just feel like I have a lot to say because it's been so long. I was on a pretty regular routine of filming podcasts, and then I got sick and it threw me off kilter. But I have some decaf coffee here because my voice is still kind of like froggy, and if I talk too long, and I'm going to be full disclosure here, this is my second time filming this. I filmed 50 some minutes of footage, and then when I was playing it back, I realized the camera angle was so bad, and I just was not happy at all with I was like, just post that, but then I'm like, no, the frame isn't good. You can't see my projects well. Like I was just like, I cannot put this up. I can't. So I made myself some coffee just for the warmth, to help my throat. And then I thought, we're going to do this again because it's been a while anyway, and I don't mind talking about everything again. My first finished object I want to show you is my garter ridge blanket. It is finished. It is huge. It is so huge. In fact, I'll try to remember to put some extra footage in, like of me holding it up and showing you, because it's too big for me to do that when I'm sitting here on the ground filming. But I ended up finishing this. I'm so happy with it. Everyone loves it. It is heavy, and it's kind of like a lighter weighted blanket. So it's really cozy. And when I talked about this last, I think it was 56 inches wide, and I said, I think I'm just going to get to 56 inches square, which was maybe like 4 inches away from where I needed to be. And then I was going to cast off because I thought, I've been working on this for a couple of years. But then so many of you had encouraged me to keep going because, you're going to like it better if it's longer, Amber. And I was like, they're right. They're totally right. So I'm going to keep going. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed working on this project. And so I went until I haven't measured the finished measurement. Now, I knit it so it's long enough to cover me from the tip of my head to the tip of my toes plus a little bit extra, and I'm 68 inches tall. if I lay it out on my queen size bed, it covers the whole top, like width and length. It doesn't go over the edges at all, but it's a really nice size. And I knit it with, I'm just going to say really quickly, because I've talked about this several times. I knit it with undyed fingering weight fingering weight yarn, superwash. I didn't want to have to worry about hand washing this. So I held that double with all the various mini skeins of scraps that I had. And I mean, I still have a lot of scraps left, but here we go. Like I said, I'll try to remember to film a separate video that I can overlay and you guys can see it. And when I cast off, I decided to cast off with an I-cord cast off, bind off, whatever you want to call it. But I didn't like how bulky it was. So when I kept going because I didn't want to unpick that. That's the honest truth. I did not want to unpick the I-cord bind off. But when I got to the corner, I started a border of just crocheted, like a crocheted single crochet border. And I did that along every edge. So the only edge that has the I-cord edging is the top one where I bound off. Now for the I-cord, single crochet I-cord binding, I ended up using, it's got some color in it because it's a fingering weight that is left over from a project I made, Lily, like a camisole a couple years ago. And I had enough to go the whole way around except a little bit on the last side. And so there I just filled in that gap with just 2 strands of undyed fingering weight yarn. And again, I will put, I always forget to say this at the beginning of my podcast episode, but I link everything I talk about in the description box below. So I will put the details. I did 240 stitch cast on and I knit this on size US 8 needle. I did not use a pattern. There is a pattern. I've had multiple people tell me that Molly of a Homespun House has a pattern for this type of blanket. I didn't feel the need for a pattern for this blanket because you're just casting on and knitting back and forth. Now, I don't know if maybe her pattern may have something in it that tells you how to do like an I-cord along the edge. I have no idea. I have not seen her pattern. So if you don't know how to just add an I-cord as you go, that might be helpful. But I personally did not feel like I needed a pattern to knit this. I just cast it on what I thought would be a good amount of stitches, and then it's just back and forth you go. Oh, I just realized I forgot to tell you guys what I'm wearing. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is one of 3 of my Felix pullovers. This is a pattern by Amy Christophers. And I love this pattern. This is knit with yarn that I think it was Amanda, one of my viewers. I think it was you, Amanda, sent this to me. It's Knit Picks Heatherly. It's a worsted weight yarn. It's in the teddy bear colorway, and it's held double with this Make It Tweed. So these are the 2 yarns that I held double, and it gave me this fun fabric. Let me just kind of get up and show you. So this is not as pale as the camera showing it. It's much more pink in real life. The lighting, it's so gloomy out here that the lighting's not very good. Everything looks so desaturated on my camera right now. That's kind of disappointing. But I knit this one different than the rest of my Felix pullovers because the other 2 that I made were much more fitted and cropped, and I wear them over dresses a lot. But this one, my belly button's right here, so it's quite a bit longer. I think my other ones are all probably about here. I stopped them. So I made this one a good 3 inches longer than my normal. And then I also did these balloon puff sleeves. I don't think that's in the pattern. I don't think my other ones have this, but I often add this to patterns, sweater patterns. I add the little puff at the bottom, which I do just by no decreasing or minimal decreasing as I'm knitting the sleeve, and then doing a quick decrease at the sleeve. And that gives you, like before you start the ribbing, that gives you this puff. I like the puff sleeves. So I often add that. So yeah, Felix pullover. This one I knit bigger and a more open gauge. I mean, it's not an open gauge at all. Like it's a closed gauge, but it's a bigger gauge. It's a looser gauge than my other two. My other two are pretty tight gauge. And they are, honestly, I can't even hardly ever wear those because they are so hot to wear. And typically I wear them to church because it's always cold at church. But at home, this is the only Felix pullover that I have that I can wear without getting overheated. Okay, so next project I want to show you that's completed is this beautiful granny stripe shawl. This is a pattern by Rowan of Crochet Object Knitting. She has a YouTube channel as well, which is how I found out about this pattern, how I found out about her at all. And I'll link that down below as well. I know that I've mentioned her multiple times. So you guys, a lot of you are probably already familiar with her. Her channel has really grown significantly, which she's fully deserving of that. I always get so happy when she puts a video out. But this is, I crocheted this according to her pattern, except I added a few more rows to make it a little bit wider. So I like this pattern. You can find free granny stripe shawl patterns on Ravelry, I'm sure of it. This one's a bit different though, because your cast on, I don't know that you call it that, your first row in crochet is the shortest row. And then she has you do increases so that you get this angle. So your shawl is flat and then it angles out. And this makes it really nice for draping over your shoulders and preventing it from falling off. I hardly ever wear shawls like a shawl. I prefer crescent shaped shawls, or this is not a crescent, but it's shaped like a crescent as far as like, it's not a real deep triangular shawl, because the way I typically wear my shawls is like this. I wear them outside. I don't typically wear them in unless they're very lightweight. I'm more likely to wear like a little scarf or something around my neck if I'm cold rather than a big old shawl. And then I typically just tie a knot. And this is how I will probably wear this. I haven't worn it yet because I'm really funny about wearing my knitted and crocheted objects before showing them to you guys. I like them to be fresh. I like to block them and then set them back here on my shelves, and that way I can show them to you guys blocked and unwrinkled most of the time. Sometimes there's some wrinkles. This was such a joy to make. It was an absolute joy. It was just what I needed. It was like I was feeling so sick and I didn't have energy. And this, just the granny stripes. I love granny stripes. I love granny stripes so much. And I love the scrappiness. I really enjoy doing scrappy projects. I think that's why I enjoyed my garter ridge blanket so much. And this is actually 2 of 3 scrappy projects I have to show you today, because I've just been wanting to knit scrappy, colorful things. They look so homespun. They're just so heartwarming to me. I really enjoy granny stripes and scrappy projects. So I'm not going to leave this on because I'm actually a little warm right now. But this is, oops, I want to show you one other detail. I just randomly placed my colors with just a little bit of color management. And the nice thing about crocheting is if I would get partway through a row and not like how that color was kind of interacting with the colors around it, it's so easy to tear out crochet. It's so freeing. You don't have to worry about like your stitches dropping way back. You just rip it out, you know? And so I did do that several times with different colors. I'm happy with how this turned out. I actually think it would be really fun to do another one. Not yet, but maybe someday. And then you finish it off with this scalloped border. There we go. And I used Knit Picks Stroll sapphire heather for my scalloped border, which goes the whole way around except for the top. It's not on the top. So yes, I highly recommend this. So much fun to knit. It'll be so much fun to wear. Just love all those colors. Up next is a pattern that I have not talked about for a long time, but I have knit so many of this pattern. It's a hat pattern. It's the Christopher hat. It's actually just listed on Ravelry as Christopher. If you put Christopher hat in, it's harder to find. So I will link it below, but if you're ever looking for it, just Christopher or Christopher Jane Richmond. Jane Richmond is the designer. Now you guys are going to see that this is, I have never seen the Musselburgh hat, like the pattern, but so many people have knit that since it's come out. When did that come out? Last year, maybe? And it's just a really very popular knitting pattern. Jane Richmond designed this pattern years ago. I don't even know. I mean, I've had this pattern for so long, and I've probably made 12 to 15 of these hats over the years as gifts and then for myself and my family. But it's the same concept as the Musselburgh. So let me show you the last one I knit, which isn't really the last one I knit, because the last one I knit I'm going to talk about in a second because I just finished it yesterday. But let me show you the one I knit several years ago. So this is knit in Little Lion Heads yarn, a fingering weight held double with a Cozy Posy Yarn Co. orangish, goldish colored mohair, silk mohair. So the Christopher hat is written for worsted weight yarn. It's written in 2 sizes, and so what I always do if I'm not knitting it in worsted weight, I've always either knitted it in worsted weight or DK weight. So what I usually do is when I do it in DK weight, which would be this, I just knit the larger size, and it has worked out for me, for my head, and for everybody else I've knit it for. So I love this hat. It's double thick because as the Musselburgh hat, you cast on, which I'm assuming that's how this pattern is. That pattern is as well. You cast on and you increase for your crown, and then you knit a really long tube, and then you start decreasing, and then you bind off on the other crown. And then you take one side of that and you tuck it into the other. And that's exactly how this hat is knit as well. And this one has been my winter hat for the last, at least, has it been 3 winters? So I made it long enough that I could fold up the brim so I had quadruple thickness on my ears. And I wear this hat when I go out in the winter because it gets pretty cold here, and this blocks the cold and it blocks the wind. Now, my last episode when I was filming it was a special episode. It was the one where I did the different patterns I want to knit. And somebody had commented about it looking like I was okay, so you know all that, have you heard of that color palette for people, like your seasonal color palette? I've heard of it, but I've never really looked into it much. And I know that there are certain colors that look better on me than others. For instance, if I wear teal or certain shades of blue, or there's this one shade of like a magenta or a fuchsia color, certain pinks that people will always say, oh, that color looks good on you. And I don't typically get that comment when I'm wearing like neutrals or golds or rusty reds or oranges, which I tend to knit a lot in those colors. So this viewer had commented that she was a little bit confused about my coloring because I have blue eyes and I'm fair, like I have cool tone undertones, but yet my hair is a little bit red toned. And the reason for that is because I dye my hair, which is no secret. I don't keep that a secret. I've tried to grow it out, but it's just too gray. I'm not ready for that yet. At my age, I don't care what people do with their hair, but I need to dye mine. I don't need to dye mine. I want to dye mine at my present stage and age. But what happens is when I first dye my hair, it has the cooler undertones. And then as the dye, as I get farther away from when I dyed it, it gets this red brassiness, which happens a lot in anybody who dyes their hair. It's why if you look at blondes, they have such, it's so hard to get a true blonde color because of the brassy tones that come out. And so I think that's why my coloring's a bit confusing. And I know I could maybe rectify that by using purple shampoo, but it doesn't really matter that much to me. But she had said about she looked like she thought I was a summer season, but the colors I use in a lot of my knitting are more of a autumn coloring. And I was like, okay, well, I haven't really thought about it much. And I'm definitely not a high maintenance kind of girl. So I don't think about stuff like that with makeup, and I do have a little bit of makeup, and I've thought about it with those kind of things. And of course, when I was trying to find the perfect red lipstick for me, I was thinking about it with that because I knew certain reds looked horrible and other ones looked better. And anyway, all of that comment got me thinking, and I ended up using a couple different color palette apps, and you can submit your picture and it will tell you the season that it thinks you are. And of course, it's not foolproof because we're using cameras on our phones and stuff, but it came back on both of these apps that I was a soft summer. And I thought, well, golly, that kind of makes sense with, considering the colors that I normally get compliments on when I wear them. But yet I don't knit in a lot of those because I'm not typically drawn to those colors. So I don't know how to rectify that. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. But it inspired me. It inspired me to cast on another Christopher hat in colors that I knew were my colors. And it was yarn I already had. So it was like a very impulsive cast on. So here is my most recent Christopher hat. And it is knit again in Little Lionhead Knits yarn, which I didn't even plan that, but it's funny that happened. And her color is, I actually have it here. It's so beautiful. I love it. I ordered some yarn off of her last fall when she did some updates, and oh my gosh, I love Colveen's. Like, her colors are always so pretty and fun. But this is it without the mohair with it. So it's this blue color and it's got some red in it. And a little bit of yellow, it looks like. Anyway, I held it double with the silk mohair from Drops. And this is color 27. Definitely a cool color. And this is what I got. And I made this one a little bit longer than I did this one because the brim on this sometimes flips down. And so I knew I wanted it I wanted it to be wider. So let me try this on and show you guys. I love this hat. I love this pattern because it's so nice and warm. And it's fun because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I could hold two different fingering weight yarns together and do some sort of marled thing. So if I take my glasses off, you'll see that this color is, try not to look at my red toned hair, but this color goes really great with my eyes. So I don't remember the viewer's name, but you opened a whole world up to me with, not that it means I'm not going to knit with yarns that aren't in my color palette. I definitely am. I'm not limiting myself to wearing things only in my color palette, but it's definitely making me think a bit. And it's just so interesting to me that I really enjoyed knitting this. I love this color blue a lot. I knew that this would be something that would complement me because it's one of those shades that if I ever wear it, people will say, oh, that brings out your eye color. But it's just funny to me that I often want to knit with autumn colors, autumn palette colors, rather than the colors that are more, that pull out my skin tone and undertones and coloring and stuff. But it is what it is. I got to take this off. I am so hot. I started out cold and now I am really hot and I'm actually starting to sweat. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. How about that? This is middle-aged perimenopause for you. Okay, so those are my Jane Richmond Christopher hats. Last finished object I want to talk to you guys about. Oh my gosh, I got to spread my legs out here because my leg is falling asleep. Okay, this was also an impulsive cast on. Do you call it a cast on if it's crochet? So Saturday, as I already alluded to, I was having a really bad mental day. Like mentally, I was feeling I was starting all last week. I was starting to feel like maybe I was tipping down into like a depressed episode, which I struggle with depression and anxiety. I've talked about that in the past a little bit. So I was feeling really low on Saturday. And I think most of the reason is because I had been sick for so long, and then the weather has been really gray here. And I was sitting in front of my light therapy box, which is really good. If you struggle with seasonal affective disorder and you've not tried light therapy, it's worth giving a shot. I would recommend ordering one. I know that a lot of people don't like using Amazon, but Amazon often has free returns. And the reason I say that is because my daughter can't tolerate that light. It triggers migraines. She is migraine prone though, but we tried it with her and it triggered migraines. So she can't use that, but I am fine using it, thank goodness. And I think it does really help me. So I was sitting there in front of my light and I suddenly remembered this little sweet project I had seen on Pinterest back in January. So I got on and it was for this crocheted heart garland. So sweet. I was just feeling so down and I'm like, I need a little pick me up. So this was quick. I mean, it took me multiple hours. I literally sat for the first, I think until probably 2:30 p.m. I just sat on the couch watching podcasts. I was just in a really bad place. And so this helped distract me. It is really cute. I made mine longer than what she writes in the pattern. It's really easy to customize the length because she tells you that for every heart, you'll need 5 stitches. And then at the end of that, you just add on 2. So you figure out how many stitches you need for how many hearts you want, and then you add 2 on at the end. And I knew where I wanted to put this. I wanted to put it underneath the shelf, hanging off the shelf over our sofa in our living room. And so I just kind of calculated based on that. And I sat there and I watched podcasts and I crocheted this little thing and it's just so cute. I didn't even block it. I used yarn that I've had for ages. I think I got this at the very first Pittsburgh Knit and Crochet Festival I went to many years ago. And I held these double. I think they're the same yarn colorway, but this one's more yellow and this one is more red. And I don't know that you're seeing that, but in real life, it's definitely, I can see that in real life. But I just held them double because these are both like light fingering weight, maybe even lace weight. No, probably light fingering, I would call it. And so, yeah, it's hanging up in our living room now. And it's nice because I thought, oh, the hearts are cute for Valentine's Day. But honestly, I'm going to leave this up for a while because I like it. And when I look at it, it genuinely makes me feel happy inside. And I needed something to just boost my mood a little bit on Saturday. So this is cute. It's a free pattern. I think it's Delia Makes. I'll link the website down below. It's a blog post. It's not a printable pattern, but it's really, I thought it was really easy. I didn't feel the need for like a printable PDF or anything like that. I knit this I crocheted this using a 3.75 millimeter hook. Yeah, pretty sure. But you can make them in any weight yarn. So you can make them bigger, like bigger hearts, but I like the tiny little dainty ones. Lily loves this so much, so I'm probably going to be making another one for her. Okay, speaking of Lily, I'm going to show you a project that I am making for her currently. Where is the pattern? I have such a mess around me. So many things. I am making Lily the Josie hood. I don't know if that's pronounced the J is pronounced as a J sound, like in the American alphabet, or if it's pronounced with our H sound. So is it Josie or Jose? I don't think it's Jose because I feel like it would have an accent over the E if it was Jose. But I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. I've heard other knitters say the same thing. How do you pronounce that? But in my head, it looks like it says My Josie Hood. So the reason I decided to go with this one, this was not the pattern I was going to originally knit her. I had said that I was going to knit her the Purl Soho hooded scarf, I think is what it was called. It was a free pattern on Purl Soho's website. I was going to knit her that one. And then I realized, do you see those little ties? I realized what a great idea those ties are. It's been, so far, it's been a really easy pattern. I don't foresee it being challenging or difficult. It's been easy to follow. This is all the further I've gotten. This is the front of the hood, so it would go like that. And I'm now currently, you knit this top panel and then you do some short row shaping. I mean, very minimal. How's this look? And then you start working the sides and the scarf portion. And I am using, oh boy, messing my hair up today with all the hats. I'm using Kelbourne Woolen's Spout yarn. This was something I had in my stash. And I'm using the natural colorway. Now, this is not the yarn that I purchased for her hooded scarf, but here's what happened. I purchased Mode at Rowan alpaca wool. And I talked about this last time. Oh, I feel like it's so dark. Oh my gosh, the coloring or the lighting. Sorry, I was trying to get it to lighten up again. I talked about this and somebody said, let us know how that yarn fares with Lily. And I think maybe she said it's a little bit itchy or scratchy or something. I don't remember, but this is before it arrived and I was like, oh no, what did I order? Because Lily's so sensitive. And I think this particular viewer remembered that because I've said it so many times because I knit a lot for Lily and I always have a hard time sourcing yarn for her that is wool, but it's not scratchy and itchy. So it came and I thought, well, we're gonna see before I start knitting and I'm gonna have her hold up to her neck. Now this does absolutely nothing to me. There is no scratchiness whatsoever. However, it bothered Lily a lot. And it's not just that it's uncomfortable for her, but it makes her skin get all red. And I should not be surprised. It is alpaca. And because alpaca has a lot of guard hair, alpacas have a lot of guard hair on them. And when you skirt an alpaca fleece, which I used to have alpaca, so when you skirt their fleece, you're trying to pull off as much of that guard hair as you can, but you can't get it all off. And that is often what people are reacting to. They're reacting to those guard hairs that like pop out of the spun yarn. And so she tried it. She was like, Mom, I can't do it. So I had thought about sending it back because I got it from Wool & Co. And, but then I thought, no, I'm going to keep it because it doesn't bother me. And I have a couple of ideas for it that I'm going to talk about at the end of the podcast because I haven't cast anything on. So they're just ideas. So I'll talk about that later. But I said, Lily, come to my stash and pick out some yarn. And so this is what she found. This was the one with the color that she liked that didn't make her feel scratchy and itchy. And so that is what we're doing. I am knitting this on a size 8 needle, which I think is what the pattern calls for. Now, I love that this has a schematic with it because I do not have the same row gauge as her. My stitch gauge is almost exactly on, but my row gauge is way off. My rows are much smaller. My row gauge is much smaller than hers is. So I had to knit way more rows to get the amount of centimeters of length that she called for in the pattern. And that's okay because I have a schematic. So the only thing that meant was when I went back to pick up stitches on the sides of this panel, I had to pick up more stitches on each side. I tried only picking up the number of stitches that she said in the pattern, but it left big gaping holes and it looked horrid. So I was like, that looks bad. I'm going to be annoyed at that every time I see her wearing it. So I ripped all that out and I picked up with the number of stitches that I needed to make it look nice and clean. And I think it's going to work out fine. I was a little bit nervous about doing that because of how the pattern's made, but also I think because of how the pattern or the hood is designed, I think it will be okay. So we're going to keep cracking on with that. I don't suspect that this will take me very long. I have only been working on this for a couple of days and I've already got quite a bit done. So I think this is going to be a pretty quick project. Okay, next up is a boring pair of socks that I'm knitting for my husband, but I'm going to show them anyway because I have gotten, I've made progress. Did I show these to you guys? I don't even know, but this is the first one. And this yarn is Super Garn Active, and it does not have a colorway name. It has a number, which will be linked down below. I like the little stripes of purple in there. I like the touches of purple. But I think why this sock feels like it's taking me such a long time. I started it after Christmas because the socks I knit for Brad for Christmas ended up being too small for him, too short in the foot. And I didn't have enough yarn to rip out the toe and knit it longer unless I wanted to use like 2 different contrasting colors in the toe, because I already used one contrasting color. My daughter Lily's boyfriend, Noah, his feet are a little bit smaller than Brad. So I had him try them on while he was over here, and then they fit him. So I gave those to Noah and I said, Brad, I'm going to knit you a brand new pair and these will fit you this time. So I think it's the gray colors and the brown. I don't want to, oh my gosh, it just occurred to me. I probably don't want to, this matches our landscaping. If you pull out all the blues and purples, that's what it looks like out my window right now. And so we don't even have any snow right now. We got a big ice storm that did so much damage to our beautiful birch trees, and it's just like brown and gray and blah. Okay, so maybe that's my problem. Maybe these socks are reminding me of the landscape in Western Pennsylvania right now, but whatever it is, it's taking me, I don't really feel like, the only time I knit on these actually is in church, and they're small. So they're a good church knitting because I can just sit down here and knit. I fully am listening, but I don't like people seeing me knit in church because I don't want people to think I'm just, this is part of, like, I know, should I really care what people think of me? No, but I don't want people to think I'm just blowing it off. So I don't want to bring a big project and I need something easy. And this is literally just stockinette in the round. Knitting them on size US 0. I did a 64 stitch cast on. Brad's feet aren't really big, so that works for him. He likes a tighter sock that like really, you know, like nice and tight and snug. So that is what I usually do for his socks. This is only the first sock. I still have a whole nother one to get through once I finish this one. Oh gosh, good. Well, maybe, I don't know. It'll be fine. It'll be fine because he ended up getting my Advent socks because I accidentally made them too big for my feet. So he's been wearing those a lot. And honestly, they were the bright stripy ones. They fit his personality way better than they fit my personality. He's worn those socks a lot. I think they make him happy. So I'm happy about that. All right. Last active whip. I have lots of whips. They're just shelved right now because I don't feel like working on them. My last active whip is my cozy memory blanket. And I'm so thankful to you guys for talking me out of stopping this. I think it was during Vlogmas or the podcast episode right after Christmas, because I filmed one December 26th. I think it was that episode that I talked about this blanket and how it wasn't bringing me joy. And I was tired of working on it because I had literally been working on this for years, like since all the cozy memory stuff was popular, which was, I feel like, years ago. I mean, I know this is still a popular pattern, but when it first became popular is when I first started knitting this. And in that episode in December, I said, I think I'm just going to turn this into a pillow or something. And then many of you were saying, oh, that's so pretty, it's so beautiful, and you should keep going. And then when I was editing that episode, I was looking at it with new eyes, and I thought, that is really pretty. I think I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to keep going. And so 2 things with this. First of all, if I were to start this again, I would cast on more stitches when I was starting my squares. These squares are really tiny, which is what I think makes this blanket more monotonous to me. If the squares were bigger, I feel like I would maybe enjoy this a little bit more. I think I cast on 32 stitches total. So 16 this way horizontally and 16 vertically. And then you do your decreases. Gosh, it's been so long since I've worked on this. In the middle. Yeah. But I would make bigger squares. And another thing about this blanket is when I was really working on this, I was enjoying it. And then it was much earlier on in my knitting. And it was at a time that I wasn't really knitting a lot of socks. So I didn't have a lot of fingering weight scraps. I bought some minis on Etsy. I mean, this was a while ago, but I found some mini sets. I feel like minis weren't as popular back then. I found some mini sets, so I used those, and I just didn't have a lot of fingering weight scraps. Now I have a lot of fingering weight scraps, so I feel like that will help this blanket to be more fun as well, because I have a lot of color options. And actually I'm going to be moving this project over into this blanket basket. This is what has been holding my garter ridge blanket for the last 2 or 3 years, however long I've been working on that. I have so many little tiny skeins, and because my squares are so tiny, I need to measure, but they are not going to take much yarn at all. And if I run out, I'll just join another little ball and it'll be like a multicolored square. I have so many. And then I have like my full size mini skeins too in another bag. So I think I'm going to have fun with this now. Now that my garter ridge blanket's done, I can just focus on this blanket and work on this. And it is truly making me feel very happy right now. So that's how I like to gauge my knitting. Is this making me happy right now? It wasn't until like recently. So we're going to run with that. I don't think I'm going to finish it this winter. I know I'm not going to finish it this winter. What am I saying? I don't really care how long it takes me to finish it. It'll eventually get finished. I think that's what my plan is. Another thing that's helpful if you're doing one of these is to weave in the ends kind of like every so many squares. You can see that my outer rows are not woven in yet, but I'm going to, as soon as I finish this pink square, I'm going to go weave in all those ends because the rest of the blanket is all woven in, and that saves a lot of extra work at the very end when you just want to cuddle under the blanket. I don't like to have that overwhelming amount of ends to weave in at the very end of a project. So I try to do that as I go. Even with my garter ridge. Oh shoot, I wanted to mention that. With the garter ridge blanket, I originally started doing the magic knot ball, and I quickly found that it was not staying knotted for me. And I talked about this in my podcast, and I had viewers that said, maybe you're not doing it right because it works for me all the time. And then I had other viewers that said, I can never get that to work either. And so I watched multiple videos on YouTube to make sure I was doing the knot right, because you have to do it just the right way. And I was. And so unfortunately, I have multiple areas. There's one here. There's a couple over here. I don't know that you can see those ends. Those are areas where my magic knot ball came undone, and I can't cut those any smaller, or I'm afraid the blanket's going to unravel because the knot is right there. So within the first 4 colors of this blanket, I learned that I am not a magic knot ball lover, except what I did do, and I'm going to get some fray check or some sort of sewing glue to just reinforce those knots, even though I don't like the idea of that because it's going to give a weird texture right there. But what I ended up doing is the magic knot ball process, like tying the yarns together. So I did that, but then instead of clipping the yarn right at the knot, I left those long strands and I just kind of like spread one out in one direction and the other out in the other direction. And then I knitted it in as I went. And so I have the knot, but then I have those ends. And so they're already woven in. So I didn't have to go back at the end and weave them in. So yeah, that was something I wanted to mention and I forgot to until just now. Okay, so now let's talk quickly about my my yarn that I have here. I made a yarn purchase. This purchase was inspired by my whole color thing. Finding out I was a summer color. And I bought this yarn. This is Purl Soho Good Wool. I like this yarn a lot. I'm going to show you a sweater that I've already knit in this. This is Wild Heath, and this color is Teal Twilight. So I knit this Sonder sweater last year. This is a pattern by the Petite Knitter. And this is Barnhouse Red in Good Wool, and the contrast color is called Pink Salt. I love this sweater. This is probably currently my favorite hand knit sweater that I have. I really like color work yoke. I like to knit them and I like to wear them. I know some people have a hard time with yokes, but as long as I mean, there have been some yoke patterns that I have not found fit me well, but this one fits me really well. And I really like this sweater a lot. The yarn is warm, but I don't find it, I mean, sometimes I get a little bit overheated, but it is a sweater that I can wear at home and not, typically I don't feel like I'm suffocating. So I ordered more of the Good Wool and I ordered it in these colors. This, it's like a lavender purple. This is really pretty. I don't know if you can see that. Yes, I think you can. It's like heathered. It's so pretty. I really like this yarn. I like working with it. And let me see here, actually. Do we have some pilling? We have some pilling, but look, that's not bad because, guys, I literally wear this sweater a lot. That is not bad. I have some right there. That's a pretty big pill. So it does pill. It's 100% wool. It doesn't, oh, it does say Andean Highland wool is what it is. And I think it's considered it's categorized as a DK weight yarn, but it's a light DK, I would say. So I'm going to knit this sweater again because I really enjoyed it and I like the yoke and I like how it fits me, but I'm going to use this as my main color and I'm going to use this as my contrast. Now, looking at this in the camera, I am not liking this at all, so I may change my mind. What I really wanted was a very deep, dark teal as the contrast color, but it was out of stock and I wanted to order it then because the yarn was it 20 or 25% off? Because Purl Soho does these sales all the time where they offer a certain percentage off. And so I ordered this to get, at that time, to get the sale price. The deeper, darker teal was out of stock. Even like I looked at the navy, it was out of stock. So I thought, well, I'll get this. I like this color. I'll use it for something, even if I don't use it for this sweater. And then if I need to, I can order just one skein of like the darker color when it comes back in stock. When I look at this now, I'm feeling like that's what I'm going to probably do because I'm not really liking, I want this to be deeper. Yeah. I will do a little, I was going to say I'll do a little swatch, but who am I kidding? I'm not going to swatch, especially since I already know my gauge. I'm not going to swatch. So probably what it's going to look like is I'm going to start at the yoke and then I'm going to put a lifeline in and then I'm going to start the color work and then I'm going to decide. That's more like how I'm going to do it. Yeah. But anyway, that is my plan. And then I also wanted to talk about what I want to do with this yarn. Okay. I don't make those make 9 plans because I am too spontaneous with what I want to knit. I consistently knit socks. I almost consistently have some sort of blanket going on, whether it's knit or crocheted, that is always a long-term project, but everything else is very spontaneous. And I change my mind quite easily and quickly because I just see so many ideas and I feel so inspired. And then I'm like, I don't know what I want to knit. But I did a video last month where I'll link it down below. It was 15 patterns that I thought would be great to knit this winter. In there, I featured a pattern by Amy Christopher's. It was called, I think it was the Meissa sweater. And it had this really pretty, it was very folksy looking and had this star motif on it. It reminded me of kind of like a quilt type thing motif. And so I thought about knitting that in this yarn. I also thought about knitting the Step-by-Step Cardigan because honestly, I need more cardigans than pullovers. Cardigans are easier for me to wear now because of my stage of life. And I don't have many cardigans. I have a couple like big bulky cardigans that I wear more like robes when I'm at home in my pajamas and I just want to be warm and cozy. But I don't have many just regular nice cardigans to wear with jeans. And I thought that Step-by-Step cardigan, I'll try to remember to put a photo in here. I like the V-neck of it. I like the shape of it. It looks a little bit more boxy. And it also, I wouldn't make it cropped, but I wouldn't make it super long either. I could tailor that to make it just the right length for my body, which can be hard sometimes with store-bought stuff because I have a very short torso and long legs. So sometimes I have a hard time finding cardigans that hit me in the right spot. So it's kind of a toss-up between those two with this. And I don't have to decide right now. I don't know that I will decide because I also want to cast on that Haze sweater by the Knit Purl Girl, which I also mentioned in that video, and I actually already have the yarn for, and it's already caked up because it's drops air, and so I don't have to cake it up, which this is already in a ball too. Caking up the yarn, it's the first step. But that is what is going around in my mind, and I just don't know what I want to do, which is perfectly okay. It feels really good to feel inspired. I have not been feeling inspired at all this, I can say this year because, you know, it's a new year, but so it feels good to have that inspiration again. You'll have to stay tuned to see what I decide to do because I don't know yet. I'm almost still kind of in that place where where I'm really getting hung up is I don't want to have to do a gauge swatch, which is just completely ridiculous, but that's where I am. I don't like swatching. I really don't. It's not hard to do, but I just don't like it. And so right now, when I want easy knitting, which is what I've wanted so far, you know, this year, I've just wanted stuff that I didn't have to swatch. Yeah. What else? So that is all. That is all of my making content for you. I don't have much else to say other than I'm so happy to be back. My coffee is cold, but that's okay. I do really enjoy filming these podcast episodes. Now I'm really bright. The lighting. I do really enjoy, and I love reading your comments. And it's just, oh, I know. In the last video, I'm not going to say the G word, but I'm going to post the winner right over here. And I don't know the winner because I haven't done the whole random comment thing yet. I'm going to do it though before I edit this video. So the winner is right here. Here's a screenshot of your comment. So if you could please, I will find you in that last video and I will let you know that you won. And then if you could send me your Ravelry username to my email down below. If anyone gets any weird things, don't believe them, like any weird comments, because I've had it happen so many times where my comments get hacked on videos where I do the little treat thing. I'm trying not to say the word. I swear it like tags videos. If that word's in it, it tags videos. And who knows, I might have already said it, not knowing, not realizing it. But yeah, so I'll go back to that original video and I will comment on the person who actually did win. I'll comment on their comment, and you need to let me know what your email address is or what your Ravelry username is. And then I'll get that, and also tell me the pattern that you want, and I will get that sent out to you. And yeah, so, okay, now got that out of the way. I have a wedding coming up, guys. Real quick, some life news, because we're having some changes in our home. It's kind of crazy. We're moving into the new season of our life. Our kids are grown up. My youngest just turned 19, and Lily started cosmetology school in January, the beginning of January. She started school, which is why my nails are painted. Oh my gosh, I'm her guinea pig, so it's wonderful. I am not a high maintenance girl at all, and so I don't do stuff like that. Although I do love painted nails, but anytime I paint my nails, they're chipping by the end of the first 24 hours of having them painted, and then the chipping drives me nuts. So I just don't paint my nails. But Lily's learning, and so she needs somebody to practice on, and so I have offered myself up. And she gave me a gel manicure, which was a week and a half ago, and it has not chipped yet. The only thing is it's starting to grow out because my nails are growing, and it's amazing, but the gel is hard, so my nails are hard. See, that's my problem. I can grow nails, but they're really brittle, so they break easily. Plus, I'm really hard on them because I don't wear gloves when I wash dishes. I don't always wear gloves when I garden. I am really hard on my nails. But I love the look of polished nails. So I'm like, I'm so happy. Actually, for the first like 2 days of having these, I would look at my hands and think, whose hands are those? Because it was so weird. I hardly ever polish my nails. So she's doing that. Anne is getting married at the end of next month. Crazy. I'm so happy for them, but I'm also so sad for myself because my kids are growing up and he's going to be moving out. And it's a kind of a weird place to be. It's good. It's a good thing. It's normal. This is what you have your children, you raise them to the best of your ability, you cover it all with prayer, and then you send them out into the world, and it's mostly out of your control, and you just got to go with it. And so that is the hard part. It's the part I'm learning about right now. So it's, yeah, lots of changes coming. But it's okay. It's good. It is good. And I'm in charge of the cookie table for the wedding. And I was an adult when I realized that not every wedding had a cookie table, because I grew up in the Pittsburgh area and I thought everybody had cookie tables at their weddings. And then I realized, no, that's just a Pittsburgh thing. And I think maybe part of Eastern Ohio. Like, it's a Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio thing. And if any of you are wondering what in the world a cookie table is, it's basically this huge table full of cookies of all varieties. And you have to have one at your wedding if you live in this area. I'm in charge of it. So I've recruited some of my family members to make some, and I will also be making. I haven't started yet. I've started buying ingredients, but I haven't started baking because, oh my gosh, yes. So if any of you are cookie bakers, how long do you actually freeze your cookies? Like, how long will you let them stay in the freezer? Because I thought if I start baking the end of February, then they'll be okay to go until the end of March. And I do have a deep freeze, so I have one that freezes things better with less chance of freezer burn and stuff. But I'm just not a big cookie baker because I can't have gluten. So I will bake cookies at Christmas, maybe occasionally during the year, but it's just a small batch, and they're particular ones that I know taste good as gluten-free cookies. If you have any favorite cookie recipes, especially ones that would be good on a wedding cookie table, drop them down below, because I've been on Pinterest. I've been making my board on there for cookies to have at the wedding. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up now because I've been filming for over an hour. Oh my goodness. I told you I was so happy to be back talking to you guys, but thank you so much. I wanted to take a quick moment. I almost forgot. thank you for those of you who have been sending tips over Ko-Fi. And by tips, I mean you've been generous and you have sent me like money. I really appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I try to respond when I see that come up. Most often I don't respond right away, but I'm always afraid I'm missing. So if you have sent this channel a donation, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I really do appreciate it. And it's just really kind of you. And it means a lot. And also your comments. I know all of us podcasters say this, but it truly does make a difference because it just makes us feel like we're interacting with the people who are watching our videos. So thank you for when you leave me a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, I gotta say it, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And you can turn the notification bell on so that you'll be alerted when I post next. But that's it for now. So I hopefully will not, I don't know, it's gonna be busy with wedding planning. So we'll have to see, but I'm planning on getting back to my regular schedule of podcasting, which will hopefully be 2 to 3 times a month. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, take care, everyone, and I will see you all next time.